Hello everyone, welcome to MediaNama. Earlier this month, Amazon was in news for indicating its plans to provide satellite communication services. According to reports by major news platforms, Amazon is seeking approval from the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center to offer broadband from space services in the country. The reports also mentioned that Amazon is expected to apply to the Department of Telecommunications for a global mobile personal communication by satellite services license. We will be speaking to MediaNama journalist Kamya Pandey today, who has regularly covered telecom here, and we will understand more about Amazon's plans as well as the relevance of this development. So, Kamya, could you please begin by telling us a little about what it means that Amazon is entering satellite communication markets in India, and is there a reason to believe that it's entering the market? Has Amazon confirmed the news?
So I'll answer this first by explaining what satellite communication market would essentially be. So that just largely means the transmission of messages from satellites. And this includes a lot of different services, not just broadband internet, which is what we're talking about today, but also other things like television content. So direct to home DTH satellites, which were popular back in the day. Those would also require satellite communication, navigation, and remote sensors also require satellites. As far as whether they're entering the market or not is concerned, we reached out to Amazon, but they didn't essentially confirm anything. Instead, they told us that their satellite communication project will provide broadband internet to underserved areas around the world, including rural and remote parts in India. And that they are looking forward to working with the Indian government and local partners to connect with customers and communities across the country. Now, could effectively see this as them saying they are indeed planning on doing things, but they didn't come out and say it directly. Now, even though they haven't explicitly confirmed anything, there are reasons to believe that they are interested in entering the market. One of the biggest reasons being that they have a project Kuiper, which is a satellite communication project that consists of 3,000 satellites in low Earth orbit. This project is not currently active per se, but it has received approval to operate its services in the US by the Federal Communication Commission there. And it has also teamed up with Vodafone in Europe and Vodacom in Africa to extend, to help the two companies extend coverage of their 4G, 5G networks. So all of this makes us believe that it wouldn't be a stretch to say that they have plans to provide the same services in India as well.
Right. So, what would be the possible reasons that Amazon is seeking to enter the market, enter the space, and what is its relevance today? Like, why is this development important?
Of course, it's hard for us to come up with any concrete reasoning for why they might be doing so, because they didn't come out and explicitly tell us why either. But one of the things that we see as relevant to this discussion is network usage fee, which is currently a pretty important topic in the Indian context. So, for the viewers who don't know, MediaNama has been actively covering a consultation conducted by the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India way back in July. In this consultation, they were essentially asking stakeholders whether there should be regulation for communication platforms in India and whether there should be measures for selective banning of communication platforms. Yeah. So with the responses coming into that consultation, what we saw was that telecom companies were suggesting that there should be a fair share agreement between telecom companies and communication services. Essentially, what they were saying was that should pay telecom companies a charge for generating a lot of traffic or essentially putting pressure on their network infrastructure. Same kind of discussions have also been happening in the EU. And in that context, Amazon has been pretty vocal. And it talked about how it's established a network of CDNs in the region, which are essentially proxy servers that bring content closer to their end users. And also about Project Kuiper, which is essentially them providing broadband services all by themselves. So it makes sense that they wouldn't be in favor of network usage fee in India either. Their arguments largely are that online platforms are already spending enough money to provide high quality services to the users. They don't necessarily need to go the additional step, and that platforms and telecom companies have a symbiotic relationship. So now that I've given you all this background, the reason why it's relevant to the discussion we're having right now is because if Amazon enters the access provider space, sorry, let me word that better. There is a good reason to enter the access. This is a good
Access.
reason. Yeah. Sorry. This is a good
Yeah.
reason to enter the access service provider space for Amazon because currently the system that telecom companies have been asking for, both in at least in the Indian context, is that platforms should pay telecom companies. They're not necessarily saying that telecom companies should pay each other for users sending data between different networks. We learned about something related to this in a discussion that MediaNama conducted earlier this month, which the
Right.
viewers can watch on our YouTube channel. Essentially, what we found out in this discussion was that less than 1% of the interconnection agreements, these are agreements between telecom companies for sending data between their two networks across the world, are paid. So that means most of them are unpaid. So while
Right.
telecom companies want OTT platforms to pay them, they don't necessarily want to pay each other. This means that if Amazon starts sending data using its own network, it wouldn't have to pay a network fee. Also, this is relevant because this could essentially encourage other platforms to also provide data services, because that would
Exactly.
exempt them from network usage fees.
Right. So, in your story on this subject, you have also pointed out that Amazon did a filing with the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India on the spectrum auctions for space-based communication. What did that filing say, and why? Is it relevant to this discussion? Is there anything notable that our viewers should know about from that filing?
Right. So we've done a full story on it, but let me give you the Cliff Notes version of it. Essentially, what Amazon is saying is that they, unlike what's happening in the telecom sector currently in India, which is that telecom companies have to get a license uh, for spectrum, and they have to go through an auction process. So the highest bidder would get the spectrum access, and it would be, completely their own. Other companies cannot use that certain spectrum band. So what Amazon wants is that spectrum should not be going through an auction process for satellite communication, but rather should be assigned by the government. They say that this will benefit startups and smaller businesses who would otherwise be unable to afford bidding during the auction process. So they essentially think it will help competition in India. Um, one thing which I think is very important here is that, and this was neatly tucked away in the footnotes of the point Amazon made. They said even in India, it may be argued that auctions have not necessarily promoted competition in the telecommunication sector. This gives us a very good idea of what they think about the telecom sector in India. Essentially saying that there are competition concerns here, which I think is relevant not just to our discussion right now, but overall to our viewers' understanding of the telecom market.
Thanks, Kamya. That was all about Amazon's new undertakings in the telecom space. Do check out the links below in the description to read more of our telecom coverage, and also follow MediaNama for regular tech policy updates. Thank you.